Some hidden darkness, kind, sweet. I stand here gazing at ancient Yaqui faces, at ancient Oldham faces, gut geysers welling, gushing, breath waning, ancestors' spirits sing. I whisper, aho, it's another man's wind, a man of truth, of courage, of strength. Aho, I say, not understanding the weeping, the peace, sacred peace around sacred faces, desert wind blowing October warm, wind whipping branches, whipping thick desert dust, faces circled, Apache, round dance, step, step, heartbeat of Mother Earth, drum, step, step. Beauty is here in ancient Pima faces. Beauty is here in brown, red Dene faces. Beauty is here in strong Apache faces. Pain is here in red, brown, weathered faces. Pain rivers betrayed by so many lies. Bodies float downstream, death stream alcohol. There drifts Maria, raped and murdered by drunks at 14. Her village flows fresh tears from River Pain Rapids, white water, red splashing on and on and on. There floats Jack, sad alcohol suicide at 21. Uncle's tears remind us when you fall, always remember to get back up. I am not from this land of the burning sun. Yet I have been allowed to run 200-mile red ribbon run. I have been allowed to sing sacred songs to the children back in the beauty of young red faces. Their beauty enters the chamber where my illness lies, incurable. Their beauty unlocks the door so air and light can enter. The children's beauty is fresh, youth song. The children's beauty is now, earth song. My tired spirit, tired of betrayal, rises. My tired spirit rises from sick bed, begins to dance. Drums pounding, step, step, the dance of hope. Listen, listen. Drums beating, step, step. Youth song flows sweetly from children's lips. Flowing river song hope. Listen, listen. Drums pounding, step, step. Spirit burning, dance, step, step. Fire, song, flames, light, step, step. Some hidden darkness, kind, sweet. Welcome to Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry. We might be small, but we got some quality today. I'd like to start off with a moment of silence for the people in Israel that had died yesterday. I'd like to add another moment of silence for the Palestinians who've been moved out of their homeland today. My heart feels for both. Welcome to Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry, and we are at the Space Bar. And can we give some love for the two features that we're going to have today? Julio Aguilar is on Zoom. And Carol Mostrip is right there with us. And Carol, if you don't mind, I'd like to start off with you today so we can have a little bit of separation between you and Julio. That'd be fine. And so we each of you have 25 minutes. And if you don't have to take all that time, but you know, as someone that was nominated for the Pushcart Prize, I think 25 minutes each is really important. Okay. A little bit of housekeeping. If you want to avail yourself to the best deli in La Mesa, it's right over there. If you need to go to the restroom, it's right behind me, and it'll be on your left. And can we give some love to Alfred Williams, who's our Zoom master today? All right. And I see that we have some people. I want to shout out for Chris Benoit, Dan Gist. And so we're small with a lot of quality.
I don't drink decaf.
All right. Yeah, that made me smile. Please remember, if you're a poet, you have 5 minutes or 2 poems, and we'll probably be a little loose on that today because there's not so many of us, but we want you to feel comfortable up here on the microphone, that's for sure. Over on the authors table, we want to support our local authors, and if you are on Zoom, we are recording right now, and so when you come down to the space bar to read your poems, we have an authors table. We want you to bring your books, your CDs, flyers about what you're doing, because my partner Jimmy Collins, who's right here, he wanted us to support all the arts. If you were someone that was going to the La Jolla Playhouse yesterday to see sumo, COVID outbreak happened, so they canceled that. And so you need to call the La Jolla Playhouse and find out when you can go see that play. If you got canceled out yesterday, I guess there was some kind of a COVID outbreak. So Jimmy Collins approached me around 2010, middle of 2010. He said, let's go to the big kitchen and have breakfast. And we would do that. We like to eat there a lot. And he said, let's start an open mic. And I said, no, I don't want to deal with all those personalities. And he said, we can do it together, brother. We're both hungry for community. And even though we're small today, we are a community. We got community on Zoom and in the room. Ooh. I know. Woo! Jimmy's painting is right over there, almost a mural. His painting is right here. And I have this hat because he was always wearing a hat because his spirit is about us being together. And when I went up to the Beat Museum in San Francisco last January 2022, I got this at the Beat Museum. We welcome all races, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, and all abilities. And that's Jimmy Collins right there. That's how he actually walked that. So I think I've done all the housekeeping I'm supposed to do. Carol Moskrit moved to San Diego in 2012, where thanks to her mentor, Judy Reeves, she found Thursday Writers and Dime Stories through San Diego Writers, Inc. Carol was class poet for her graduating class at Stanford and has been writing most of her life. For a number of years, she's had poetry published in Year in Ink and in San Diego Poetry Annual. She is a pushcart nominee. Can we give some love for Carol Moskrit? Carol.
How's the mic?
Good. Good.
Good. All right. I'm reading the title poem of my second book that I'm still working on, called The Escape Artist. It's to a friend. Escape Artist. In memory of Barbara Pfaff. She had given away her couch. She didn't want to own anything she couldn't move. Except the fridge, she laughed. Even the bed was reduced to a pallet on the floor, something she could slide around and her body could be carried out on later. Useful, she laughed. About that too. We tried to get comfortable for coffee on her 2 folding chairs. Her art hung all around us in every direction, masses of springs, sprung with shadows, the cryptic script on the walls, a white phantom football in the grasp of black hooks swinging freely, a small boat moored on the shore of the other side, abandoned. She left me a blue crescent moon that hangs from a string, open like a pod split along its inner curve to reveal the rungs of a ladder. From moon point to moon point, the one she fashioned for herself to climb to high heaven, where her guardian is the dragon of her own spirit.
Yeah.
I had a chance to visit a wonderful museum in Lausanne, Switzerland, which is for outsiders, either people who have been for mentally so-called ill, mentally different, for people who have autism, for prisoners, all kinds of outsiders. And here's a piece of art that particularly caught my attention. Searching for the nature of mind. The boy with autism is drawing all of the brain cells he can find. Within each, the whole body, its parts, many bodies with parts, not spare ones, but essential, as he draws streets in dark pencil, rubbing the paper until it's shiny. The terrain is so complex. Dwellings, ivy dense with details. The huge swath of paper is rolled out before him all the way across the floor. Not lost, yet he is wild in a wilderness of countable leaves. In the pristine landscape of his own sight, only pencil and paper can express the luminosity. With fine lines for each figure, he draws a city as far-reaching as the body's cells, clumping to make forms dramatically the same yet seemingly random. Each cell's enclosure is a wee garage for a tiny truck or car, trolley or bus, red, yellow, blue, weaving their threads throughout the universe that is his mind. His teacher framed this and put it on the wall in a gallery for us to see. It appears in brilliant light as a city of vehicles, the stunning entry of wheels as abstractions, the empty cave of each windshield, repetition except for the zigzag jags of color popping as electric lines all over the cellular grid. His vision is dazzling and reaches everyone. Another ekphrastic poem. That's the word I know some of you know. It took me a long time to learn it. I learned it about 10 years. Of course, it's a poem describing a piece of art. Ted Studio, in memory of Ted Kirkendall, 1953-2009. Bleached eyeballs of a doll's head staring out of trash. Little limbs scattered with coins on a tarnished tray. Humanoid features melting their gels in steady flames from each corner, an ashen face facing facelessness in a spider-cracked glass. Searing candle wax dripping wraiths on every scene where hanging means hung, and one mask deserves another, where puppets are corpses that could be yanked with string, instilling a subliminal pulse into dead things. Visions of the shriven in sepia and silver, a stunning stillness taints it all. Even the obituary mentions the traumatic childhood, but hides devastation of the bottle behind pneumonia and complications of the heart. those morbid intricacies that formed the art that took him all the way to the Smithsonian. The self-portrait is all eyes, hugely dilated pupils and bandages of paper mache, a brow double in height to record a dozen furrows of recurring pain, a whimsical shock of hair, a head on a limbless shadow, the slightest confusion of a smile, a weird cartoon of a supreme artist with double the vision of a man who could not twist the corkscrew from his heart. Sense. It was an insight I wanted to cherish by means of articulation, but my acquisitive thoughts, crowding to accumulate around the spindles of meanings meant to uphold my end of the tunnel identity as if nothing were wrong, they got in my way, and the moment was gone. Blindingness of sun on snow, breathing alone, the moment is due. Insight's pinprick of light breaches my blindfold. Can you see the sightlessness of stars in a star-choked night sky above a field of horses snuffling and shuffling in their sleep under high-minded trees? A feeling of meaning, but nothing to speak of, no ledge for opinion, no windows for point of view. It's been right there all along, where my heart is always speechless on its own. No hook of meaning lurking around to snatch a loose thread on my sleeve and unravel me until my soul is one long mile measure of a single chord, and I am immeasurably cold. Apples and serpents are not to blame for our blow up with God. He was looking for a fight, already had a chip on his shoulder. Here, don't touch this apple, don't you dare. The serpent had a willing and open mind about gardens, though there was but one then. Eden was really a setup between God and the devil, who wanted a piece of the action. Indeed, claimed it for being an equally great force in the universe, lord of thunderheads, lord of muscle cars, lord of notions of right and wrong that evaporate as soon as a life is taken. The punishment can never fit the crime, like the loose garments we wear in direst grief and never rest until a dune of truth is found to rest upon. The moral of this story is that a brother should never try to entertain his sister's friends to the point of erasing history just to amuse them. But history had it coming for stubbornly repeating itself. Reactionary, resistant students who didn't want to learn dates tore out all the timelines from all the history books across Texas. And makers of educational law in that great state have voted to omit from history curriculum any mention of Hillary Clinton for being herself, or of Helen Keller just for helping to found the ACLU. Mm-hmm. Serpents in the same basket? How do you like them apples? The Exclusion Zone, 1986. She speaks of wild strawberries as big as cats' heads, her eyes wet behind her huge black-rimmed glasses. Worse than Japan, she insists, holding her hands before her in supplication as if praying for what was done to be undone. Once a young doctor in the Ukraine, just starting out, treating the first responders who rushed to the fires. They all died of leukemia, she confirms. The tears welling for a moment, she sighs and wrings her hands again. A puppy born with 6 legs and not one to stand on. Wolves have taken over the monstrous charred skeleton of Chernobyl. Wolves have crept in like scientists to examine carefully the core of things, to sniff the strangely tangled remains. Birds are nesting in young trees. 19 square miles of radiation reserve for the few hundred elderlies who love their villages beyond common sense and have returned at last to die there in the exclusion zone. With every urge of their being yearning for a landscape, a house, and a tree called home. Doctors in anti-radiation suits come to visit them regularly, treating them as the greatest of scientific prizes. A godhead of grief, 150 villages expelled, and in the city of Pripyat, each house abandoned in the middle of a meal. Cobwebs on the plates and forks, a school attended by cats and mice, an outdoor party given over to blackbirds, sparrows, and wrens. On a church altar, a dead Jesus strangled by vines. A statue in a courtyard of rearing horse and rider, cloaked in the timelessness of toxic dust. And they project that the city of Pripyat will be inhabitable again in 22,000 years.
Wow. Wow. By who?
I'm sure that the radiation will be replenished at that time soon. James Dean, our first psychosexual darling, mystifyingly potent. You could see it in his eyes. Scintillas of light flecking each pupil. A thrill not to be captured by words. The rugged simplicity of the name, his real one. The heat of tight jeans, how he pursed his lips to meet a cigarette. Smoke writhing above his head. We knew he would be gentle with us. We 5 15-year-old virgins, in our first longings for carnal knowledge. We of the James Dean Club knew him better than he knew himself. Even if he did live in mysterious Hollywood, how he could make us smile with tears in our eyes, those dimples, his own lonely longing for profound love. We went 3 days in a row to a James Dean marathon of his 3 movies, smuggling bags of turkey sandwiches into the theater at 11 in the morning. We were furious with him for being so careless. And we damned the survivor, Robert Turnipgood, who turned in front of Jimmy. I still thrill to call him that. As he sped at 85 miles an hour down California Star Route 46 in his new white Porsche. I curse God for wrecking our perfect anticipation of sensual joy. The daring unfolding of our innocent souls, a lesson learned too soon that men can disappear. His early death left us with a sense of doom, feeling old before our prime. We sent flowers to his funeral. Lorna probably still has his father's thank you note from 1955. She ordered the flowers, though we all paid our share, but she was the one who loved him the most. She never married.
Carol, Carol, can you move a little closer to the microphone, please?
Like this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Joe the poet. This is Joe spelled J-O. Joe the poet. Signed her name with a flourish under the title and began her masterpiece about women in nature, her hand moving quickly across the pages, leaving lines that are the tissue of a vision into the maternal pool, the erotic tide, spinning straw into a golden story of traveling bareback on childhood's strawberry horse through the forest of everlastingness to discover the wonder in trees just as they are. Her pen can define each branch, each leaf. And here's Joe the poet, J-O-E, Joe the poet. He with a broad freckled face and riveting green eyes, edgy tattoo coming from under his baggy shorts, long to mid-calf, dresses young like a beachcomber. Pants slip off with a single gesture, no underwear. Big pockets to tuck cones into, and shells and whole crabs and sides of small boats, beached just for him to swallow whole into his vast collection of stuff. From the engine that roars all day, all night, rising to expand, withdrawing the edges of itself, and then from his belly the poem vibrates as he talks of trucks and deserts and the wilderness of sexual pursuits in the original woman-man garden. And here's Joe, J-O-E and J-O, and no gender identified. A traveler's crumpled hat on the hearth, a song of aloneness on the road, a holler into the Grand Canyon, a colloquial voice that reveals the nature of things with his features where saintly appear on a potato chip, or a piece of French toast, the donut of conversation, symbolic food of the traveler, its empty circle center, the source, who speaks to us along the way, expounding poems just for the sake of the storyline, not driving a Cadillac or a badass jacked up higher than heaven pickup, doesn't steer big wheels over things, never wears dark glasses. This poem is in memory of Caldecott winner Margot Zema, who was a friend of mine. Margot gives a drawing lesson. The more you see, the more you see. That's a treacherous one. You can't but look at the line. Cut things in half to see what's there. But some things won't bear taking apart. Draw lines around the body until what is heavy gets heavier. Extreme shapes, unmeasured planes. Don't be beguiled by color. She didn't let her daughter have color until she was 5. She don't let her have pencils. Wow. I don't know. Not good parenting strategy, but she wanted her daughter to know the line. And her daughter also became an illustrator. The healer squeezes all she can squeeze. Her dark eyes become skeletal crevices. Her fists hold all the tension of cosmic forces. Kneeling on her feet, her gut contracted, her whole frame shaking until her hands explode into fingers stretched to the roof with all her force, and rising on her knees, she presses her palms down on his stomach as he gasps, and she rolls as if lifeless to his side, having discharged all her faith's electricity of healing. Her body's spirit force squeezed dry. Sometimes something is just frozen, she murmurs, as her shoulders begin to quake with a deep chill. No need for potions of chamomile, sassafras, chickweed, and verbena. Just chicken soup with rice. Elixir of the universe. Frostbitten from within, she rises in a trembling trance, backing out the only door of the one-room house as the sick boy rises from his bed with one wish on his lips. Can I keep that dog that bit me? 25 minutes is coming towards an end here, but tide bound. I'm surprised when the tide isn't there, and confused when it slides back in under my feet. My slippers, my sole companions, wet again. I unnerve the air with my spontaneous whistling, searching for a note to break today's ennui, to greet tomorrow's melancholy. My thoughts erode continuity of stars. A search for meaning, for a full story. Fiction is a handle that rotates as does the pen. And so it comes down to what page I live on, footprint of story, alignment with facts of the matter as issued. I am surprised when the tide isn't there. Three more little ones. I can't read anymore. I know it all. But Plato said to Nietzsche, if they were time-traveling friends. Aristotle's greetings for Heidegger, Wittgenstein's loafing around with Thoreau. What Gautama whispered to the flower, naively in love with herself. Petals are torn off one by the winds of philosophy. The sky, the ground. Whale circles. Tide tugging at our feet. My daughter and I stroll along, waves carving a Palomino shore. A goodbye before her plane becomes a silhouette across San Diego's blue flame sky. Wander the world, I tell her. Follow the horizon, a serpent sea biting its own salty tail. May you circle your way back home, as blue whales do, singing codes to each other to the beats of their zodiac hearts. Yes. And I'm going to finish with a haiku. Crickets asleep, birds too. Night's long blue note solo shadows the moon's face. Yes. Very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Let's get some love for Carol,
Yes.
please.
Voila.
Carol Moscow. Thank you very much.
Okay, as I said, quality is not quantity for us today. And it's just going to get better and better. Actually, now that you featured for us, the first three of our poets have featured for us here at Second Sunday Jihmye Poetry. And our next lady is on Zoom. And she is a worldwide teacher of voice and theater and a pretty darn good poet. This is Jan Gist.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Gateway. Maybe everything is a gateway, possibly opening wide onto new pastures, meadows, grasslands ripe with greens and grasses, and unending skies of drifting clouds and distances, and a wilderness of maybe, could be, why not, yes. Maybe everything is a gateway opening onto cities never seen before, of streets of gathering peoples from many other places, having journeyed from afar, some carrying only what was left. So many journeying, now joining in possible eagerness of each to meet, to invent a common possibility of yes together, yes. Maybe everything is a gateway, possibly opening outward, forward, on and beyond, maybe even beyond what's known inside my own and private safety of familiar me. Maybe all my own internal journeys in previous private journals, hiding to hush the dangers of broken promises and pretended protections of the ones who claimed they owned me. Maybe even all my architected privacies and secret solicitous solitudes are also now a gateway, possibly opening two ways, both ways, outward, yes, and inward, yes, and both now forward, on and beyond. And both these pathways wait as these gateways open wide in welcome to me and all, to join the possible possibles hoped for, yes, together, yes, and maybe forward, inward, and forward, onward, and on. And this is fragile. The worst thing about fragility is not the thing itself, the soft, available optimism, the quiet teetering, barely balancing in almost stillness that could fall or float, or burst open into crying or blooming at any moment. All the senses seeing all the meanings, all the peerings into all the possibilities, all the just being, just noticing, just wondering, all that being breakable is just fine until someone or ones who are not just fine, who are hard with their dense defenses against their own fragilities, assert, push forward, and aim to break the fragilities that remind them of their own breakable tenderness. The breakers, the lashers out, the belittlers attack the ones being little, being fine with being little. Then the fragile ones who fall or float can break apart with the weeping of eons of all the pain of loss of all the openness. And if they weep their throat clamp heat of tears, or even if they wait to weep till after a while, and even while sensing that the mean intent of the breakers is to break meaning into sharp shards of broken everything, the fragile ones who just barely balance lightly do learn to live in ways to cause no harm. The fragile ones who learn to live in ways to cause no harm, not even to the breakers who, after all, are so broken they cannot bear their own tenderness. The fragile ones who live can continue to just be and just live with their lamps shining on fragility possibility, shining on the breakers too. So truth of tenderness can be brought into the light. So even the breakers just might, maybe, see. Thank you.
That's Jan, yeah. Woo! I can tell you were a voice coach because when you read the line about weeping, you didn't stutter. There was a whole bunch of stuff in there in that one line. Assonance, alliteration. Thank you so much for coming today. Always appreciate you. I was on a walk one day, and I have such a bad memory now at 75 years of age. She was walking towards me. We're in the parking lot of the zoo. And she's smiling at me, and I went, "Oh God, do I owe this lady money? What is this?" And she went, "Hi, Jim." And then we realized where we knew each other from. So always good to see you, Jan. Julio, we're going to have you feature after the next poet, who is a young man that as soon as I say the first sentence about him, you know who it is. He was the beat poet of San Diego. He was the beat poet of California. He was the beat poet of the United States. And I think real recently, he was honored to be the beat international poet, but do not offer him decaf. Chris Vinoy.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? I couldn't be there today, but I got a new poem for you called "Drowned Me in the River." Drowned me in the river, yeah, the atmospheric river. I sit on my microplastic cocktail. I sip, there we go. Have to change that. I sip my microplastic cocktail out of my radium glass. The world has changed. It has fallen back into the dark ages of distrust to crucify scientists for the gold alchemy of their knowledge. Drowned me in the atmospheric river and feed me microplastic pizza. Oh, praise, oh, holy state of blind denial. Let the snakes of the false prophets bite you. Then you will see whose God you worship as I sip my nuclear cocktail out of my radium glass. The prophet of the street says we are drowning in his atmospheric river. Free McDonald's, he says. Smoke cigarettes backward, he says. Light the stove. Now it's cold, he says. It's full of ants. Place everything in a plastic Ziploc bag. Jason will soon be here. Let your freedom be more than words. The words, oh yeah, the words. I'm drowning in an atmospheric river. As I sip my microplastic cocktail out of my radium glass, just watching this world change.
Woo!
So how many people are there, Jim?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
800.
8.
Too bad I couldn't be there today. Sorry.
Yeah, you're here with us on Zoom and in spirit, my friend. And I think I
Yeah.
recognize your house. You're at your brother's house?
No, still in my house, my mom's house.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jim.
So I have a little blurb I'd like to read to you about our second feature. Julio Cesar Aguilar currently teaches Spanish for health professionals, among other Spanish language and literature courses at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. That's where he is right now. His work has been translated into several languages and has been published in several countries such as Canada, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Iran, Spain, Peru, Poland, and Venezuela. He's been very busy. He's the author of Donde No Falta Nada, Puerta Abierta Editores, 2021, La Consigna y el Milagro, bilingual edition, Spanish, Persian, Puerta Abierta Editores, 2022, and Un Destello en las Sombras, Poemas Selectos, 1995 to 2020, A Glimmer in the Shadows, Selected Poems, 1995 to 2020, translated by Alexander J. McNair, Puerta Abierta Editores, 2023, and 16 other books of poetry. He is a welcome member of the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade and appears regularly at Second Sunday on Zoom from Baylor University in Waco, Texas. Please give a warm Second Sunday love for Julio Cesar Aguilar.
Thank you very much, Jim, and everyone for being here. I'm going to read 7 very short poems in Spanish and then in English. All of the translations are from Dr. Alexander McNair. And so I'm going to read 10, 15 minutes, okay? Not too much. Okay. La flor en la tierra. La semilla de la muerte que ha de germinar al sol revienta bajo la tierra. Las manos de Dios alegres que desgranando los días cultivan la muerte ya, trabajan siempre la tierra desde el único principio de la extensísima vida. Apenas una raíz asciende hacia el infinito, mientras Dios medita y ve los vastos frutos de luz que van a cubrir la tierra. Está la flor de la muerte brillando sobre la tierra y con su esencia perfuma el aire, todos los aires, los rincones de la vida donde se deshoja eterna. The flower in the earth, the seed of death, which must germinate in the sun, burst open underground. The happy hands of God, which thresh our days, are growing death already, always working the soil from the very beginning of this lengthy life. A root verily begins its ascent to the infinite when God can foresee the vast fruits of light that will cover the earth. The flower of death shines upon the face of the earth and perfumes the whole sky with its essence, the corners of life ever filling up with petals. The next poem is titled En el umbral. ¿Cuál es la puerta aguardando la sombra del que soy, del que he sido siempre yéndose a los tantos vientos cardinales, como el que brizna, polenciego, anhela vislumbrar algún indicio de una flor cualquiera, señal donde se funde el venidero reino? Digo puerta, y acaso sea una ventana rota, un pedazo de vidrio, un vacío por el que la luz se filtre, cárcel que abolirá sus hierros cuando decida el fuego del hombre. Amigo mío, que me dará su voz, manantial de canto, luz y llave, desmintiendo los ilusorios muros de la prisión donde ya no vivo, porque muerto estoy y no sé desde cuándo. On the threshold, which is the door that awaits the shadow of who I am, of who I've always been scattered to the four winds, like blind pollen or a splinter longing for the slightest trace of a single flower, some sign upon which to found my kingdom come. I say door, but perhaps it's a broken window, a shard of glass, a void through which the light is filtered, a prison that will abolish its chains when the fireman so decides, or a friend of mine, which I am sometimes, and who hides within me, a friend who will lend me his voice, wellspring of song, light and key, giving the light to the illusory walls of this prison where I no longer live, since I am dead, and know not since when. I'm going to continue with La Consigna y el milagro. Volver a tus dominios, infancia, acercarse es lentamente a la explosiva boca de un volcán. Y luego, ¿para qué volver entonces al origen del desastre, donde aún el escombro es el reino de la insania y una voz de látigo férrea para el castigo y la zozobra hace cumplir puntualmente su mandato? ¿Para qué, entonces, escarbar lo caminado y hundirse en las cenizas de un esplendor fallido, en cuyas ruinas aguarda temeroso un niño? Regresar a la infancia y salvar al corazón de su infortunio han de ser la consigna y el milagro. Our lot and miracle. To return to your realm's childhood is to inch slowly ever closer to the fiery mouth of a volcano. But then, why return to the disaster's origin, where the ruins are still insanity's jurisdiction, and a cold crack of the whip, forged for angst and punishment, imposes its will with punctuality? What's the purpose, then, of picking old scabs, of sinking into the ashes of a broken splendor? Ruins in which a fearful child waits. Going back to childhood to rescue the heart from slings and arrows. This is to be our lot and miracle. The next poem is more recent, and it's titled Trazos para un paisaje universal. La tarde, por mares de luz enmarcada, un cuadro es de pura naturaleza viva, y entre el oleaje del viento, entre los ordinarios ruidos de un atardecer cualquiera, así transcurre con su limpidez la canción del hijo y la madre, la de los niños que duermen, la de los amantes que se aman sin un porqué y sin saber cómo, únicamente vibrar sintiendo en la totalidad de su ser, solo de la plenitud, la llama. Brushstrokes for a universal landscape. The afternoon, marked by seas of light, is a painting of pure living nature, and in the swell of wind, among the ordinary sounds of any old setting sun, it happens by, with its clarity, that song from mother to child that lulls the children in bed, the song of lovers in their embrace, without a why and without knowing how, sensing only the vibration in the totality of their being, only the flame of plenty. The next poem is Como un manantial. La poesía por todas partes anda, mariposa sobre la flor de los milagros posándose, ave más allá volando, y llave de oro que al venir abre del mundo y para los hombres todos su misterio. La poesía canta y aún el más oscuro silencio se enciende con su canto. La poesía acontece en la luz cotidiana y anda, y luminosa se levanta entre las sombras. Por todas partes la poesía fulgura, transita y canta. Florece alegre en montañas y valles de cordura, y no es flor de un solo instante, única voz que viene en un tren de sombras desde los reinos en los que luminosa la poesía nace. La poesía anda en el aire, mariposa alegre por los fulgores de cada instante, volando. As a wellspring, poetry wanders all around, a butterfly coming to rest on the flower of miracles, a bird flying away, and a golden key that comes to open the world and its mystery for all mankind. Poetry sings, and even the darkest silence is ignited with its song. Poetry happens in everyday light. It strolls and, among the shadows, reveals luminosity. Everywhere poetry passes by and shines and sings, it flourishes happily in mountainsides and down wide valleys, but is no mere momentary flower. A unique voice coming on a train of shadows from the luminous native realms of poetry. Poetry floats on the air, a joyful butterfly fluttering through the radiance of each moment. And next poem is La Definitiva y Justa. Palabra herida, en los labios del silencio calcinada, sílaba de fuego, pero en el sonido la voz, la cítara, el idioma cantando. Bajo su mudez estupefacta del hombre la boca tan solamente aguarde. Lengua sorda, despójate de la ceguera del que calla y del olvido, de la muerte innecesaria, de todo cuanto pueda sofocar su hálito. Libera la palabra, la definitiva y justa, o libérala. Definite and exact. Wounded word scorched on the lips of silence, syllable of fire, but in the sound, the voices, the lyre, the language alive in song. Let the mouth of a man simply keep watching its mute stupefaction. Stone-deaf tongue, strip the silent one of his blindness, deprive oblivion, a necessary death, anything that might snuff out the word's last breath. Free it, definite and exact. Free the word. And I'm going to finish with this poem titled Alborada Lírica. Alumbramiento del sol en los remansos de la página. Claridad inaudita. Alba a sí misma deletreándose. Ingresan las nubes a su escenario y las piedras recorren su propio camino. La realidad es del universo lectura, hálito de los dioses, el viento y los árboles dulcemente deshojándose, hojarasca en el tiempo. Pájaros irrumpen con su vieja canción inédita y la mañana es fresca como un límpido lienzo. Vuelve todo a resurgir. Escritura, legible siempre, de un Dios benigno. First light lyrics. Emergence of the sun, pulling on the page, inaudible clarity, down tracing out its own letters. The clouds take their stage and the stones make their way down a road of their own. Reality is a reading of the universe, breath of God's, the wind, and trees sweetly shedding leaves, fallen leaves gathered in time, birds burst into their antique song, unedited, and the morning is as cool as a fresh canvas. All is resurgent, a scripture of a benevolent God, always legible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julio.
I want to thank you for sharing your feature time with Carol. And it was, I wrote down some things about how your poems affected me. And I know it's two generations of poetry with two different generations of symbols and images. And it's the flame of plenty, the joy of poetry, the butterfly of poetry flitters and flutters between generations. Reality is the reading of the universe and of your poetry and Carol's poetry. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Jim, and everyone. Thank you.
I have to say that in 2016, this very, very bright man was with us when we were listening to, I'm going to call him Dubious Cesar. I also call him the Bone Spur president because he got 5 deferments during the Vietnam War. And the last deferment was for bone spurs. The podiatrist who gave him that deferment had an office in his father's business, in his father's building. So we know how some pressure can be put on someone that their rent will be raised unless they write a certain prescription. And so Julio is a symbol to us of why we need to be have friendship and respect for Mexico. And I wanted him to feature for us today because we would honor in Spanish, we would honor the Mexican people, and we would honor Julio for the work that he does for poetry here in Texas and many, many places. So can we give him some more love, please? Julio Cesar Aguilar.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
And now you know who I'm going to introduce because he has taught high school for 3 millenniums. And he's retired now. He's now a painter. He's always been a wonderful poet. And Walt Whitman would love his reading voice. This is, what's your name again, buddy?
Let me have the mic and I'll tell you. You'll hear me. You'll hear me. I won't forget. If I don't say it, I get scolded.
That's right.
It's become kind of a mark, a badge. I want to thank Carol and Julio for their magnificent work and for sharing with us. And I want to greet all of our friends on Zoom and all my friends here as well. I am Chris Ernest Nelson. And Jim, I promised I would read this poem. So in reflection to recent news. A new war. Shadows report to me our people are racing headlong into a new and terrifying war. They point to smoke and fire-scarred horizon, and I smell burning tears in the hot wind. It is an old story prophesied by our grandfathers and affirmed by accusing ghosts of armies lost to the folly of charging patriots and scoundrels with pockets full of gold and gore. Homeland. Every homeland has a story of the people who lived there and how they struggled with each other and with themselves for advantage and for justice, where the contest sometimes erupted into bloody violence. It was not enough to profit at the expense of others, to beat one's rivals at their own game. It was not enough to win. It was not enough to be right with their young cut down in the no man's land that stands between two cruel wrongs. Every homeland is a place where people make a bitter bargain with the business of a history in which their children die to defend their version of a story. It was not enough just to survive. It was not enough to prosper. It was not enough to convince themselves it was worth the price of one more cold victory. And if I may, with one more,
Please.
Judgment Day. As blossoms of the flowering dawn dispersed their benedictions through my open window, an angel of light appeared, and in the resounding voice of an elemental earthquake spoke these words to me. In just a few breaths, you will find yourself standing before God, and all your beliefs and all your testaments will have expired. All your rage will be lost, and with it, your loneliness and pain. Your name and your history, your politics and your cowardice, your religion and your courage will all disperse in the wind as your anonymous body is scattered to the dust. Your eyes will behold that perfect truth which cannot be touched by the beliefs you said you'd die for, nor sullied by the way you have lived, nor by those times you have not. It was not because of belief that you will survive. You survive for the things you refused to believe. You will not be saved by what you achieved, but rather by how generously you love. Thank you for listening.
All right, Chris.
With Alfred here recording us, it's really important for me to say we are at the Space Bar in La Mesa at 7454 University Avenue. Please go to the website, and there's a lot of community events that are scheduled down here, some for young people, some for seasoned people. And but they have a great deli down here, and Frank is a Vietnam veteran, veteran of the Air Force for 20 years. So we want to support what our veterans are doing as well. If you want to be with us next month, we'll be here this is October, so we'll be here in November, the second Sunday in November. And our feature will be Jill, I can't think of her last name. No, Jill, who, anyway, get on my mailing list, jimpoet@hotmail.com, and you can find out who we've got. I'm so embarrassed I can't think of her name. But she is teaching, I think, in New York City right now, and then she'll be back with us next month. And So now we've got 2 poets left. I want to thank you for being here. And this lady is most of my classes that I teach at San Diego Writers Inc. The next one is on the 22nd of this month, and it's called The Wrath of Coach Pop. I'll be doing some making coach of the San Antonio Spurs, the professional basketball team, Coach Popovich. I'll be doing some of his news conferences that translate into poetry, and I'll be doing some other types of poems that reflect the shirt I'm wearing, where how many more of our children are going to let get slaughtered and not do away with assault weapons that are for war. And I think that's a really important thing to do. So that will be coming up. She just invited me to her bat mitzvah. That was beautiful. And she had people in the audience come up and speak for the loved ones they had lost. And it was just a wonderful event. And I'm honored that you invited me. Joe was also there with us. But I think she is more than ready to teach her own courses. I think she's a master at poetry, and she's going to show you that right now. This is Janice Alper.
Janice.
Yeah, no problem. There's the usual fee.
And she's a master of the narrative literature too.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Let me get that back to your level here.
Here we go. This is good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to fall out of there though. Hold on a second.
Okay, here we go. Okay. I have 3 today, 2 short and 1 a little longer. And they're sort of in sequence. Why I wear red lipstick. Mom sat huddled in the armchair, skin sallow as faded fall leaves. Oversized plaid shirt covered her shrunken body, nibbled at by breast cancer. Blanket over her legs, unread newspaper in her lap. Her bright hazel eyes, headlights in the dark, shone over a toothy smile that masked her pain. I want to get my hair done. Will you take me? I nodded as if I had a choice, secretly happy with the normalcy of it. Mom disappeared into her bedroom, emerged a few minutes later, her lips bright red, blush on her cheeks, turquoise on eyelids, upright like the mother I used to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a blues poem, my new attempt. Widow Lady Blues. Got the widow lady blues, got the widow lady blues. Now you're gone and left me, got the widow lady blues. More than 60 years ago, young, naive were we, full of hopes and dreams. The plan was not to be. Wasn't always easy. Kids drove us crazy. Money often short. Future often hazy. At night I rant and rave, say things I didn't mean. You always calm and sweet, turn the other cheek. Still we stuck together. Kids went on their way. Packed our bags, lived abroad, retired here to stay. Enjoyed our new life, classes volunteered, grandkids and new friends, until the big C appeared. One day it spread all over you, said all we had to say, sat together side by side until your very last day. Now I cuddle with the pillows where your body used to be, talk to you in darkness, fall asleep with memories. Got the widow lady blues, got the widow lady blues. Now you're gone and left me, got the widow lady blues. It's definitely not the life I would choose. I wrote this morning. I have family and close friends in Israel, and
My cousin, father of 2 young children, was called up. He's in the reserves. He's also a first responder. And it doesn't mean I'm not sympathetic to the other side, Jim. I just want everybody to know that. This is called Imagine. Sitting in my home by the sea, hummingbirds at the feeder, whir of an occasional airplane overhead. Half a world away, a different Jewish grandmother sits in her home. Suddenly, masked men grab her, kidnap her, and 2-year-old grandson. Imagine what it would be like to have Canada, Mexico, send armed soldiers into our homes, bomb our cities, kill men, women, children, whose arms are raised in surrender. Just imagine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would not have imagined you saying anything other than you just said up here and have your heart be open for both sides. Definitely. I'd like to say that at the University of Florida, this professor became like my father. His name was Sidney Gerard, and he was a humanistic psychology professor, and he was aligned against all these behaviorists, and there was this animosity between the two. But he was always coming up with ways that there could be a synthesis, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. He's really about that. And when Czechoslovakia had the tanks come in from the Soviet Union, he was walking down the halls of the psychology building in Gainesville, and he was saying, "I think that we need to have those tanks be armed with donuts. They should be firing donuts." So Hamas, I want to say to you, Jimmy Collins' favorite flower was the calla lily. It's white and it's a flower of peace. You could have sent 1,000 calla lilies to that festival yesterday, not 1,000 rockets. You could have honored Hebrew music and asked if you could also have Palestinian music there. You could have done that. You could have, instead of having bullets and rockets for the people that were there, you could have brought food, Palestinian food, to as a sign of peace. You could have done all that, Hamas, and we hope that you'll do that in the future instead of this violence. Alistair McLeod can sometimes sing for us, but he's always seeing if we're paying attention, because he has a window on reality that I really like and respect. This is Alistair McLeod.
Alistair, thank you very much for that. I shouldn't be surprised at how moved I've been by some of the things I've heard this afternoon. I, like the rest of you, are very, very deeply troubled and conflicted about what's going on in Israel. It's just like so many things in the world now. It's just impossible to encapsulate one's mind, but there's just no good answers. Many of you, perhaps I should say all of you, when you come up and read your poetry, have been telling your story. I have still not been free to tell my story in my own poetic words for various reasons, but there's been some sort of birth of hope that has come unexpectedly, and it's come from being willing to say goodbye being willing to grieve over what has passed and what is lost and what can never be recovered. I didn't realize how much pain one causes oneself by hanging on to what cannot be kept. So I have a new freedom and a new kind of hope. I'm just down for that. And I could do no better than to read someone else's poem about hope. I'm sure most of you, all of you will know this, but it's deeply touching to me. I will not tell you who wrote it because you'll know. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb. That's empty.
Yes, yes.
And finally, if I have time.
The little bird gave it away.
Indeed.
If it had been a
So-
crow, we would have just,
I was looking for something to
Great.
sing that would express my new birth of hope. And I have chosen a song that I'm sure most of you will know, as most of my songs are, since they're not recent songs. But once again, when I do a little research, I find out things that I never guessed. So I'm sure all of you know, well, it was made famous by as so many things were by Peter, Paul, and Mary, but this did not originate at all with Peter, Paul, and Mary. This is I Had a Hammer.
oh, yes.
Now, it turns out that I Had a Hammer was written by Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes. So you all knew this. I didn't know it. And they were singing at a, I can hardly believe the words, right? They were singing at a support gathering for members of the Communist Party in America who were on trial.
There we are.
They were not well received by the American community. They were branded as commies, and only commies use words like peace and brought freedom. And so this was this song was first sung at a benefit for Communist Party leaders on trial. The lyrics were considered so controversial that no commercial publisher would touch it. It got them into a lot of trouble. They were forbidden to perform publicly, the Weavers, because of this. So the song never saw the light of day until 1962.
The Renaissance. Huh?
That's right. So here we go. We don't really need. And to the extent you feel inclined to, you're welcome to join in. Okay. If I had a hammer, I'd a hammer in the morning, I'd a hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd a hammer out danger, I'd a hammer out warning, I'd a hammer out love between brothers and sisters all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and sisters all over this land. Right. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out love between the brothers and the sisters all over this land. Well, I got a hammer, and I got a bell, and I got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about love between the brothers and the sisters all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about love between the brothers and the sisters all over this land.
That brings back memories.
But you know, it's such a wonderful song.
Oh, yes.
We have power. In spite of everything.
The power of love.
Well, not just
Transform
that.
the world.
Hammer is to strike with, the bell is to
Yes,
signal
yes,
with,
yes.
and the love is to unite with.
That's right.
Need them all.
Need them all.
I started off the day in juvenile hall. I taught a boys class and a girls class, 2 different units. And this is Alexa. She's 17 years old. And I told her, I can't teach someone to write a stanza form that way. That's your talent. And this message, I said, how many young 17-year-olds hearing this poem? Because I told her the San Diego Poetry Angels in all of the libraries in the county, and it's sent to 9 major cities. And somewhere along the line, there'll be a 17-year-old teenager, a girl, that's going to read this poem. And how do you think she's going to feel? And she said, I guess you feel okay. I think maybe hope. I said, that's right. And I said, and how old are you? She said, I'm 17. I said, you're a 17-year-old teacher, because what's your message? Please listen to her message. This is called Many Words. I know women of many words, women that speak as if they could fly like a bird. Many words, but have you really heard? Woman being beaten, woman being hurt, woman with men just to flip up her skirt. I know women of many words. Help, stop, no, why me? Please, treat me like the lady I am, me. I know women who breathe love and dreams, women with means, women who, I think it's women who feign pure affect, or who find pure affection and love. I know women of many words. Not bad for 17.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So I found this on the internet. This is not my poem, but I really like the theme of this poem. It's called Keep Shining. And thank you for coming today. Thank you for being all of us together today. Appreciate you all. When a flashlight starts to flicker and grow dim, you don't toss out the flashlight, you change its batteries. Same goes for people. When somebody finds themselves in a dark place, you don't toss them aside, you help them charge their batteries. Someone might need a AA battery, attention and affection, or maybe a AAA battery, attention and affection and acceptance. Or maybe they need a C battery for compassion. Or how about a D for direction? And after all that, if they still refuse to shine, simply sit with them quietly and share your light. Keep shining, keep shining, keep shining. I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll see you next month. Thank you, Alfred Williams. Thank you, Frank Moody. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Julio. Let's give him some more love.
Yeah, Julio.
Some more love. Don't let the armadillos get you down. I'm out. Good.
and the possums.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Chris.
See you guys
Thanks,
later.
Jan. Love you
Thank
guys. Thank you.
so much.
Julio.
Thank you.
Jane. Thank you, Jane. Bye-bye.
All right. Don't turn it off? Okay. The master has spoken.
Let me take care of it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. It's all right.